There are several parts to an exponential function, and we talked about part 1 yesterday, which was the role of a. Because remember, an exponential function has this setup. F of x equals a times b to the x power. And yesterday we talked about what a was, the initial value, which is really the y-intercept. Today we're going to talk about part 2, which is the role of b in an exponential function and how it relates to the pattern of the function. So if you look at this table right here, b is actually just whatever that multiplier is. So down here at the bottom, just so we can keep it in our head, we can say b is the constant multiplier then we can say found by dividing. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So you might be able just to look at this function and see that as the x's are increasing by 1, the y's are doubling. 1/2 times 2 is 1. 1 times 2 is 2. Times 2 is 4. So you might just be able to look at this and see the pattern and realize that it's multiplying each time by 2. If you are not able to do that, a way that you can figure that out is by dividing the one below divided by the one right above it. Same thing that we did with the linear functions when we said, well, you could see what you have to add, but if it's hard to see, then you can just subtract the one below minus the one above. Same idea, only instead of adding and subtracting, like with linear functions, now we're multiplying and dividing. You can either look to see what is the multiplier, or if that's hard for you to see, you can get a calculator and divide 1 divided by 1/2. And when you do that, 1 divided by 1/2 or 0.5, you get 2. So I'm going to say times 2 right there, and that's going to show that this is a multiplier of 2. If you are not able to look at this and see that, well, 1 times 2 gives you 2, you can take the one below, divided by the one above, and 2 divided by 1 gives you 2. So there's a multiplier of 2 right there. And then 4 divided by 2 is also 2, so divider or multiplier of 2. And that means that in this function right here, b is 2. Over here, same thing, you can either look at this and see, well, it looks like it's going down by half each time, so it's times a half, times a half, times a half. Or, if you're not sure about that, you can do the one below divided by the one above. So 12 divided by 24 is, if you think of this as like 12 over 24, which reduces to 1/2, which is 0.5, I'm going to say there's a multiplier of 0.5 right there. That's a little multiply sign. 6 divided by 12 gives you 1/2 also, so there's a multiplier of 1/2. 3 divided by 6 gives you 1/2, so there's a multiplier of 1/2, so b is 1/2, or 0.5. Over here, we have 1/2 going up to 1.5, 4.5, and then 13.5. Because it's hard for me to do that in my head, I am going to take 1.5 in my calculator and divide it by 0.5. And 1.5 divided by 0.5 gives me a multiplier of 3. 4.5 divided by 1.5 also gives me a multiplier of 3. And 13.5 divided by 4.5 is a multiplier of 3, which means in this function, b is 3. So now let's look at these graphs down here. It's the exact same idea, only now we need to actually just create the table. So I can see that here's a point right here. Here's a point right here. And that's really all I have that I can really tell for sure. But that's enough because as long as I have 2 points in a row, I know that this is exponential, so I can divide them to figure out what the common multiplier is. So I'm going to make my table with my two lonely little points at 0, 2, and 1, 10. Over 1 up 10 right there from between 8 and 12. And 10 divided by 2 is 5. So there's a multiplier of 5, which means that b is 5 in this function. Let's look at the next one. We have a point here. We have a point here. And that's all I can really tell for sure. I'm not quite sure if that touches or not right there. So let's just stick with these two because really all we need is just 2 because we can see that it's exponential. We just have to divide to figure out the multiplier is. So I make my table. I have 0, 1, and 1, 3. 3 divided by 1 gives me 3, so there's a multiplier of 3. So b equals 3. Now let's look at this last one. This one's copied kind of funny. It looks like a brick wall for some reason. Here, that is halfway in between 2 and 4, so that's at 3. I fill in these here. That would be at 6. 12. So if I look at my table, I have 0, 3, 1, 6, 2, 12. So I'm going to do the one below divided by the one above, and 6 divided by 3 is 2, so a multiplier of 2. 12 divided by 6 is 2, so another multiplier of 2, so b is 2. So just to review, b is the constant multiplier, and you can find that by dividing. I'm going to say below divided by above. So it looks like that. Okay, I took the number below, 6, I divided it by the number above it, 3, to get my 2. And that is how you find the value of b.